Peekaboo. Oh, got you. Wait, where'd you go?
Peekaboo!
Ah, you got me!
What a fun game this is. Please don't murder me.
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, there are so many things to be excited about right now in the Monster Hunter universe. And with the Stygians and Ogre coming in recently with his absolutely sexy recolor weapons, you might think it can't get better. Well, you're wrong, because Safi'jiiva is also here now, and he has 14 things to show you.
That's weirdly specific.
And no, I don't mean his 14 fingers. I'm talking about his weapons, his beautiful ass weapons that somehow feel both unholy and divine at the same time. And this is just the start of it, because these weapons do look amazing from the start, but they change, they evolve, and at Awakening level 23, their visuals evolve with them. They all start to turn the glow up to 110%. The clothy bits start flowing in the wind and go black. It's simply a sight to behold. Like, really, I seriously want you to behold all 14 of these sights, especially because getting to Awakening level 23 is a serious commitment. So today, I will be going through my list of the top 5 Safi'jiiva weapons based on their visuals, followed by a showcase of the awakened forms of every weapon that's not on the list as well, just so you guys can see every single one, because I love you.
I love you.
So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin with
Honorable mention. Hunting horn.
Honestly, right off the bat, it says such a massive amount about the standard for design quality with these weapons that this weapon is my number 6. This giant, gorgeous thing covered in those beautiful red scales and edgy black spikes exuding more light, and actually this is a great point to mention. The color of the light that comes with your weapon is entirely based upon the element or status within, with a quick list being red for fire, orange for blast, a deep blue for water, white for ice, a light blue for sleep, yellow for thunder and paralysis, and purple for dragon and poison. To be specific as to why this is an honorable mention then, honestly the difference between this and every other weapon not on the actual list, visual quality speaking, is absolutely minor. They are all this level of awesome. What made me want to point this one out specifically, however, outside of the list of 5, is the song that plays when you do your performance. And that was what I showed at the start of the section. It's a nice little beautiful choral melody with drums. I like it, and it fits the weapon, and it's great.
Number 5. Bow.
This bow is just something else. Honestly, there are so many things I like here, so many aspects and details, and even the mix of design styles within different parts of the weapon itself. The bow itself, at a glance, is very minimalistic, very sleek, very skinny, sharp, a couple extra limbs for flavor, and oh wait, those extra limbs have extra drawstrings, and that is one of those things that I like about this weapon. It's a tiny little detail that makes it super unique already, and I say already because Jesus Christ, we haven't even started on that quiver yet. The quiver does not hold arrows. It holds fucking light. It exudes energy. It glows. However you want to say it, this thing is just magnificent. The only thing that saddens me here is that when you actually draw an arrow, it does turn into a real arrow. It just manifests one out of thin air. In fact, if this weapon instead actually drew an arrow made of light, like just straight up pulled some energy out and fired it, then this weapon would be my number 1, no question about it. That would really seal it. But as it currently stands, it is still fantastic and absolutely deserving of a spot on this list.
Number 4.
What?
Switch axe.
Okay, so first up, it's a giant fucking battle axe. And I don't know if this is my personal bias and my Canadian heritage, but big axes are badass. And this weapon is a big axe with evil dragon overtones. The lighting is absolutely fucking gorgeous. The cloth flows in the perfect direction to complement the shape of the weapon, and the little eye-like design at the bottom of the shaft is a really neat touch. I say I like because it doesn't quite look like an actual eye, though the inspiration is absolutely clear. Oh, by the way, have you noticed that we're still in axe mode mode, well, this weapon isn't just axe, is it?
No, it's a switch axe!
This is the absolute glory of sword mode. I mean, come on. If you didn't love the axe mode, and if you didn't, you're insane by the way, then you absolutely have to love the sword mode. The light just exuding off the tips of the weapon, the tips which are essentially 4 individual blades, each being relatively small, but it somehow makes the weapon feel even bigger as a whole than just one big blade does. And the way that the space between them plays with the lighting effects on them just honestly makes me excited for how ridiculous the PC versions of these weapons are going to look with all the higher quality lighting and stuff going on behind the scenes. The cloth in the sword mode is again excellently placed with the spacing of the weapon, filling up blank space without covering up any important weapon details. So just as a whole, this thing is basically 2 different weapons and both of them are awesome.
Number 3.
You may feel a slight stinging sensation. All of you.
Lightbow gun.
This one surprised me. This one actually surprised me a lot, and it takes quite a bit to make me like a bowgun. Usually they are sort of small, which means there's less space for detail and interesting things. First up, this light bowgun is not small, at least not once awakened, as the whole horn type deal coming out the end only comes out at awakening level 23. It actually looks almost like a Kirin horn with this color scheme, though this color is connected to the lighting color for the weapon, so a fire weapon would have a red horn, for example. A thunder weapon would have a yellow one, so on and so forth. This thing is fucking gorgeous, guys. It's like a death ray of an evil scientist design, the multiple claws all coming together when sheathed, clutching the horn, and then when unsheathed, opening up to give it space to operate. It's almost like the claws are a sort of safety mechanism. I love this detail, and just the way that this thing specifically glows, with the way the lighting pattern is done all the way along the gun, not even just the horn type deal, but the whole thing. Jesus, this weapon just makes me really happy, to be honest. Like, to the point that I'm considering properly learning to play a light bowgun build again, just to get to hold the damn thing.
Number 2. Charge blade.
You had to know that it would be here, and yeah, maybe there is a little bit of bias here. Of course, the weapons that I play the most are the weapons that I play the most, but I am also a big sucker for details and moving parts, of which this very carefully crafted weapon has both. In axe mode, this weapon is just clear-cut, clean and crispy weapon design, sharp and edgy, nice shapes. The shield right in the middle of the axe itself has an open eye, and it's just absolutely beautiful. It's open as fuck, it doesn't move, but honestly, I know I made this comparison like 20 seconds ago, but it just does look like the Tower of Sauron. Like, you could not convince me that whoever designed this specific weapon didn't have that in mind as a clear inspiration, especially because of the sword and shield mode. In this mode, by default, the eye is in the same place on the shield. However, the eyelid is shut. But, and this is my favorite part, while you are charging your sword, you poke the eye out of the top of the shield with your sword, and it sticks out the end on your weapon, wide open and staring at you. You literally increase the power of your weapon by forcing the monster's eye to open, because that's most of the theme with this monster as a whole. The amount of sleeping he does, the system being referred to as awakening is absolutely no accident, and then the weapons that do have eyes in them, for the most part, have the eye closed until awakening level 23, at which point they open, signifying, you guessed it, the power within the weapon being fully awakened. Like, seriously, I love this shit.
Number 1.
He's gonna wake up tomorrow, and he's not gonna know where his eye is!
Hammer.
Alright, okay, so I really can't tell how much of my love for this weapon is my bias towards hammers, but holy crap. First up, it is an eye weapon, but it is by far the best of the eye weapons. The weapon is essentially the full-on eye socket of the monster on a stick, with the eye pre-installed.
How convenient is that? Wow, how convenient is fucking that?
And this is the biggest version of the eyeball in a weapon, and in fact the only one that is properly spherical. And as a result, this is the most detailed, and most importantly, the thing fucking moves. It's actively watching. Fuck me, how cool is that? This right here is what makes this weapon for me. The rest of it is gorgeous. The shape is very pleasing, and the tiny little claws around the eyelids to keep the eye safe are very nice. And it would probably still be top 5 without the movement, but the fact that the thing moves is just so cool to me. Like, the other ones feel like they are weapon bits designed after Safi'jiiva's eyes. But the hammer feels like it literally is one of Safi'jiiva's eyes. And as weird as it is, that's more or less all I have to say about the hammer. Less to actively say about my number one than a number of the others, but that's because it's really simple. The hammer is incredibly simple, but it is simple in the absolute highest quality way possible, and I love it. As far as the remaining weapons go then, in smithy order, the greatsword is basically one of Safi'jiiva's full-sized claws with a spiny-looking handle attached. This thing is totally badass, and the lighting that it comes with flowing between the blade and the handle, it really accentuates the loose bits connecting the two parts of the weapon as well. The longsword is awesome. It's a sheathless weapon, and if this thing isn't an anime protagonist sword, then I don't know what is. Like, this thing is just begging for a 60-episode story arc with 800 episodes of filler. The blade itself extends all the way to the handle, acting as a handguard too, and the way that the holes in the sword are placed to make the lighting almost increase from the top of the weapon down towards the handle is a really nice touch too. The sword and shield isn't bad by any means. In fact, the sword by itself is really nice. I really like it. It isn't incredibly special or detailed, but it is a unique design that looks really sleek and nice. The shield is like an incredibly tiny representation of Safi'jiiva's chest, and it looks very nice as well, especially with the lighting effects just peeking outside of the middle there, with the slightly dilapidated structure of the shield on the right side actually giving way to a touch of extra light. Again, a really nice touch. The dual blades are essentially demonic cutlasses, and yes, just straight up yes. These are great, thank you. They both look the same, unsurprisingly, and one thing that I really like is that the angle of the blade is consistent with the handle itself, which really gives the weapon a nice, consistent flow. The lance is a really nice one as well, the weapon itself looking like one of his horns, but ready to pull apart from itself and burst with energy. Cough, cough, more super thematic weapon bits, cough, cough. And the shield is like a tiny hand protecting a little demonic washboard, which I realize is a very silly way to describe it, but it's very cool looking. And again, the flowing claw segments are placed in the perfect positions to fill blank space without blocking weapon detail. The gun lance is pretty awesome too, the weapon part essentially acting like a small forelimb of the monster, glowing the whole way down beautifully, and the shield like a tiny bat made of Safi bits, including the wings being made of, well, wings. The insect glaive is probably the one that excites me the least, to be honest. The shape is really neat, but the glow is super understated and minimal, and the flowy cloth bits are the majority of what changes when this weapon awakens. It still looks super nice, don't get me wrong, but I think this one may have stopped a little bit too early. And finally, the heavy bowgun is basically just a Safi'jiiva blunderbuss. We've seen similar shapes before, and it looks great, especially the little ornate metal bits on the handle and such. I actually quite like those. And when you put a shield mod on the weapon, it grows little wings, made of wing, of course, to protect you, and that's a nice little detail too. On the whole then, I must say that these weapons are visually ridiculous, a spectacle of their own, and totally worth having in your collection on their visuals alone, even if you don't plan on using them for their statistical value. This update has been one hell of a ride so far, and every part of the ride has been amazing. Thank you, Capcom. Please give us more. Alright everyone, I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and this has been my list of the top 5 Safi'jiiva weapons, featuring the awakened forms of all the other weapons as well. Do you agree with my list? Are you a fan of how your weapon choice looks? Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes. When they're watching us play video games, we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters or report important news about the Kingdom Animalia. Rage, Content, and Hollow are all here, talking about the things you want to hear, so if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons, even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros. There's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.